Rugby news from Australia, folks, and it's a bit of a bad one to add what's been a kind of tough wee time for rugby in Australia, and that one of their better players, in Mark Nawaqanitawase, the winger, has decided to leave rugby union to go and play some rugby league for the Roosters from the 2025 season. We'll go through some of the details of the deal, some of the background, and just what's been going on in Aussie rugby, and you guys can let us know your thoughts on how this leaves the Wallabies and Aussie rugby generally placed. It wasn't that long ago where it seemed like Aussie rugby were getting really all their ducks in a row because they had a Lions tour on the cards, which they still do for 2025, which is certainly going to be a much needed financial injection. Then they won the rights to the 27 Rugby World Cup. That's also going to be a massive boost for Aussie rugby. And they got their man who they wanted. Eddie Jones was signed after getting sacked from his England job. So it seemed like everything was kind of coming up Wallabies. But then the World Cup campaign with the exit in the pool clearly didn't go the way they had planned. Eddie's insistence on playing all the youngsters and kind of burning some bridges with the veterans, I don't think went down too well with the rugby public. It ended up with Eddie Jones resigning. Then the Aussie Rugby CEO, Hamish McLennan, ends up resigning. So it's gone a bit to custard. And then one of their better players from that Rugby World Cup campaign and the year kind of prior to it is old Mark Nawaqanitawase, who always, I thought, kind of looked all right for the Waratahs, but then when playing for the Wallabies, looked bloody amazing. He's been doing so good under those high balls and setting up opportunities, finishing off tries. He's a proper attacking weapon, very versatile player. I've always thought defensively he's been a bit suspect. But nah, man, he's taken his level at club level and just pushed it on to international like not every player can. So he's been an absolute revelation at test level for the Wallabies. So to have him leaving is a brutal bit of news. Now, for those people outside the Australia, New Zealand kind of sphere of influence where rugby and league, or union and league, kind of go a bit head to head, may not really get the decision, but in Australia, the NRL is massive. They've got way more teams than they do for union. They've only got the 5 professional union teams. There's over a dozen league teams. If you go to New South Wales in particular, probably Queensland as well, if you pick up a newspaper, if you still read newspapers, there's bugger all union in the papers. It's all NRL stuff. Likewise, the news coverage. NRL is huge, and he's going to be signing for the Roosters, which is a club based in Sydney. So he's going to one of the big teams. He's going to be on a big contract. He doesn't have to leave probably where he lives now because he's staying local, and his profile in Australia will certainly go through the roof. He'll be a big deal. He'll be a big deal in rugby league. Now, what does that mean for Union? Well, it sucks because he's going to miss the Lions tour. I'm not sure if that would have been much of a decision for him. Apparently, he was a little bit frustrated that Aussie Rugby only offered him a 1-year extension to finish the 2024 season when he would have liked to stay longer. So maybe part of this is a little bit of a pushback to Aussie Rugby for not rewarding kind of some of his form, but he is going to miss the Lions tour. So there's a question for whoever takes over the Aussie job after Eddie Jones. What do you do with Mark Nawaqanitawase in the 2024 season? Because he's still going to be about. Do you play him knowing that he's leaving? Coaches have been known to do that kind of thing before. Or do you kind of bring someone in who's going to be useful for you on that Lions tour in 2025? So he's definitely going to miss the Lions tour. But what we don't know is how long he has signed with the Roosters for. There's a potential situation for him to kind of flop, if he's flipping to rugby league, to flop back to Union just in time for that kind of home Rugby World Cup. People have tried it before. I mean, in New Zealand, our most famous example would be Sonny Bill Williams. Plays in the 2011 Rugby World Cup, goes back to league, comes back to Union, in time to go to more World Cups. So he's probably the most high-profile one. But it is interesting to see that we've had other guys do it with Japan as well. They've gone to Japan for a year and come back to try and come back in time for a World Cup kind of thing. So he may well try that kind of move. But there's also a bit of a battle seemingly going on between Union and League in Australia, which is obviously an ongoing one. But it seemed to be stirred up a little bit by Eddie Jones when they signed Joseph Suaalii from the Roosters, who's joining Union the opposite direction in 2025. So him and Mark, I think, are essentially going to swap places. So, yeah, with Eddie Seaman kind of having poked the bear, the Union bosses were not just going to kind of sit there and let that kind of thing happen. There's been talk about, because the NRL's got a salary cap, there's been talk that they might allow guys from Union teams to sign for league teams and not be counted against the salary caps to try and entice more players to switch codes. But yeah, honestly, I mean, I haven't seen enough of this guy Suaalii to decide whether he's equal to a Mark Nawaqanitawase. He's only 20. Nawaqanitawase is a couple of years older. I think he's got a bit more experience. It seems like a win for league in that trade, to be honest. But yeah, we'll kind of have to wait and see. So what we do know is he's leaving the Waratahs. He's still got one season to play in Union before he switches to league. The door for the World Cup maybe not fully closed. We could see him kind of do a Sonny Bill and flip-flop between the two. But yeah, it's a bit of a bad blow for Aussie rugby. We will see if they're able to settle things down. We still need to see who's going to be their coach. But yeah, you guys let us know your thoughts. What do you think on the swap between Nawaqanitawase and Suaalii between these two codes? How do you reckon Mark will go in rugby league? You guys will certainly, some of you, have better insights into that than me, because apart from a little bit of State of Origin, I haven't seen much league at all for years. But yeah, you guys let us know your thoughts, and I'll talk to you guys again soon. See you later.